Hi, good morning, everybody. This is Nexus. My name is Kellyan, and I have Adriana Selmy with me. Just to check, we've got communications. Could somebody just type something on their
Gary Galen
communicator, please?
is now joining.
Thank you, David Richards. That's perfect. Brilliant, brilliant. Thank you, everybody. We have this thing at the moment where Skype's actually
Gary
updating
Galen
about people walking,
Is now
leaving and
exiting.
entering the conference. For some reason, we don't understand that, and we can't actually turn it off. So if you hear any strange noise in the background, that's what it is. Okay. Now, I know that some of you know us quite well. Basically, we are a
Gary Galen
based in Exeter
Is now joining.
with global coverage, as a lot of you will know. There are 70 of us here. We've been in existence for the
Gary
last
Galen
15 years.
Is now exiting.
And I apologise for that thing, keep just talking all the time. What we're going to do is basically we're going to make this as informative as possible. What Adrian has actually asked is that he'll run through the presentation, and if we could actually answer the
Terry Nodette
questions, that would be
Is now joining.
all right. Or if you want to type questions as you go through, and what we'll do, we'll address them at the end as well. So basically that little comments box, stick a question in, and basically we will go through them. Okay. I'm about to hand over to
Gary
Adriana,
Galen
who is getting ready.
Is now joining.
I'd like to apologise if you can hear that noise going in the background. Okay.
Gary Galen
Rami can't hear us.
Is now exiting.
Yeah, but Adriana's going to put a message on there. If you any reason you can't hear us, there's actually an external number to call in on, and basically you can then watch
Gary
the
Galen
obviously, and
Is now joining.
listen to it on the phone as well. Okay. Right. I'll now hand over to Adriana. Is
Gary
everybody okay with
Galen
that? You can hit your keyboard just
Is
once.
now
somebody.
exiting.
Brilliant. Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. Got that. Thanks, Dan. I'm going to hand over to Adriana, who will look after you for the next 30 odd minutes. Good luck. There you go.
Morning all. Welcome to the SharePoint 2016 webinar. We'll be talking today just to see what's new and everything that we've learned from SharePoint 2016 IT preview and beta. Just to give you a quick update on myself. My name is Adriana Selmy. I'm a SharePoint consultant for Nexus. And I've been involved with SharePoint for about the last 6 years or so. Been in the IT industry for a bit longer. And my role here at Nexus is pretty much the full customer role. I work with customers when they come into the business with pre-sales. We design business processes for them around SharePoint, whether that be an intranet, document management system. We do work with the implementation and then with the bespoke changes that are made to it, right up to the training and support after the fact. So I'm involved with the whole process, and SharePoint is pretty much my main role. This is quite enjoyable, and it's something I really do enjoy doing. Kelly's just had to pop out quickly over here, so I'm just going to try and run through everything over here by myself. I'll keep the chat up on the side over here. But if we can have the questions at the end, what I'll do is I'll just start up a questions and answer screen on our presentation, and you can just type in your question there, and then I'll be able to give you an answer, and hopefully we can give you guys a bit more informative information today. All right, just kicking off. As a note, this is information that's been garnered from the SharePoint 2016 IT preview and from the recent release of the Beta 2 release. So this is not from general release. It's very much the IT side of things, dealing with infrastructure and upgrades that we've learned from IT preview. There've been quite a load of features and updates and additions that are being actually added into these. I've got a smattering of them up on the screen over there. Don't worry too much about that. What I'll do is I'm going to try and attend to as many of these as possible and give you an overview. Many of these will be grouped together at the same time, but there's a lot of interesting things in there. Right, so
Paul Shears
Is now joining.
Starting off, we've got, does it look good? As I was saying, this is the IT preview, not a business preview. So there hasn't
All
been
shares.
that many updates
Is now
to
exiting.
the actual visual aspect of SharePoint. What I can say it is that it's been styled accordingly to Office 365, so SharePoint Online is having a big impact on SharePoint on-premise. I think the idea has always been now to move the design from the cloud up. So anything we see happening in Office Online or in SharePoint Online, we'll probably see being replicated in SharePoint on-premise. But there have been a couple of small updates here and there. First up, we've got some styling matches in there. I'm actually going to jump between the presentation and our SharePoint on-prem version that we've got available. Let's see. This is what you can see is the basic updates to SharePoint 2016. You can see the styling is very, very similar to
Edmund Phillips
365.
Is now exiting.
We've got the bar across at the top. We've got the app launch in the top left-hand corner. This is nice. This has also been made extensible in the beta update, so we can actually add different apps into this little app launcher over here.
I haven't put the order numbers are on the statement, but I've done the ones that I've sent. So if there's no order number, so if there's no order number on the statement.
Is now exiting.
Apologies for that. I think someone came with a bit of a... Mute that. All right, there we go. So nice things that we have on the visual aspect. I was saying we've got the Office bar at the top over there with the app launcher. We've got nice contextual menus are now right-click.
Is now joining.
So usually we'd have to go click on the little triple dots over here, the ellipses to get to the information, but we can actually now right-click on a document.
Is now joining.
And get the actual updates on the top. Sorry, this mic of mine's just throwing me completely with all the updates over here. I'll try to work past that. Yeah, so right-click contextual menus, that's quite nice. We've also got the Office bar on the top over here. From what I can pick up, a lot of this looks like we're going to stop actually using the library ribbon over here. For at least for front-end users, it looks like a lot of that will drop away and become available through the top menu in the libraries or in your lists, and being able to like right-click and do things over there. Drag and drop, which was originally just an IE feature, is now completely available in Chrome and Firefox too. So that's quite nice on the front end over here. I'll just jump back to our presentation, pick up again from there. So yeah, so it's the styling that the matches of Office 365. There is a new mobile view. We've got a nice little picture of that for you over here. This is a separate page template that sits in the library, in the layouts library. And as you can see, it displays the actual information in the background. So it looks at your apps and looks at your subsites, and you're able to click in and go into these things. It's not content driven, and it's not a responsive site at all. So there's not that. It's just another view from the old mobile view. But it is quite nice. It has been updated. It's quite a bit of easy things to get onto it now. So it makes it that much more approachable for normal users. Yeah. Oh, and then the shared and shared with functionality has been another little update that's gone in over here. Jump back to this over here. Previously, it was very difficult to see who a document was shared with. So this has now been added in with our with SharePoint 2016. So you can quite quickly see who documents are shared with. Yeah. Well, does it work better? That's one of the bigger questions. And I think that has been the big release from IT Preview, is they've done a lot of work on the infrastructure to make it work better. In the actual demo I've got over here, you can see jumping between has become a lot faster. So the infrastructure works is a lot quicker now. And this is a very, very basic standalone install. And the service specs aren't even that great, and it jumps around very, very nice and very quickly. So that's been one of the nice big features over there. Other features that come in, they've increased the large file support from 2 gigabytes up to 10 gigabytes, so we can put even bigger files into SharePoint. But a question, I suppose, on this would be, should we be adding files that big? It's a bit more of a question for the admins. I think if we've got files that are up to 10 gig files and we're probably looking at design files, these should probably be held on-prem, and then what we can do is just search them through the hybrid search, which
Mark
I'll in a bit.
Is now joining.
So we've got a nice larger file support there. Next, the special characters and file name restrictions have been removed. Historically, SharePoint's block names that included the ampersand, the tilde, and any sort of characters that have a
all
GUID,
shares
file names, or leading dots
Is now joining.
were even longer than 128 characters. All those restrictions have now been removed, so it makes naming files a lot easier.
all shares
Is now exiting.
Restricted characters such as the percentage sign and the hash are still
all
not
shares
allowed in there, though.
Is now joining.
Next up, we've
Multiple
got
people are now exiting.
search support. It's been extended up now, so search is now indexing up to 500 million items per server, per search server application. So there's a lot, you can actually index a lot more now, which is quite nice. Information rights management allows you to search for sensitive data. Now, this is quite a nice little interesting tidbit that's been added in. This new capability means that we can search for sensitive content across SharePoint Server. And these are 51 built-in sensitive information types like credit cards, passport numbers, for Americans like Social Security or NI numbers over here in Britain. And it means that anybody who's storing data in an open way, we can actually now run a search for these special cases, and it'll bring it forward and say, this information stored on SharePoint, and then you can actually go ahead and either remove it, redact it, or contact the person who's responsible for that data to have it placed in a bit more of a secure area. This comes aside with the new site features, which is the in-place hold and document deletion policy centers. The in-place hold is separate to eDiscovery Center. Essentially, we can set up an in-place hold now on a site or a site collection that allows you to search for specific data and place a hold on it like you would with eDiscovery. But this can be done now in separate to eDiscovery. So it allows us to hold down documentation a lot better. The document deletion policy. Now, this one's quite interesting. It's a policy center on its own. So what you have to do is you have to create a policy and assign the template, and then you assign the template to a site collection. And what this allows you to do is actually, this comes off the back of the old document retention policies that were available. So now we can actually set specific types of deletion policies. So if documents need to be deleted after a specific year, if it's sensitive documentation that can't be held for a specific amount of time, these type of templates can now be quite quickly and easily created in SharePoint and then applied to any site collection in your server or in your tenant. That's quite nifty and nice. So what's it built on? Now, as I mentioned before, the infrastructure has been built a lot more reliably. It's a lot faster in the background, but they've also given us more tools to build better infrastructure ourselves. And the big one of this is with the min roles, which are the new server roles that allows us to scale out our environments a lot better and a lot easier. A nice little picture of that over here for you. When installing a SharePoint server, part of the configuration wizard is going to be to specify a server role. So you'll be able to say this server is going to be a front-end server, an application server, or a search server, or a single farm. What each of these do is build out the very specific services that go with that server. I'll give you a couple of ideas. So say, for instance, on the front-end server, it'll have service application services and components that serve user requests, and they belong on the front-end servers. Application server would then have all the components that serve the back-end requests, such as like search or crawl. and those servers are optimized more for a high throughput. Distributed cache, we're looking over there at load balancing and SharePoint Request Manager, and it just holds all that information there. And you're going to have a specific search server, and then the custom server is a one where you can set up, as you did previously in 2013, where you have full control over which service instances can run on the servers. Now, important is the standalone install mode is no longer available in SharePoint 2016. The single server farm role replaces the standalone install. But unlike the standalone install, we need to separately install Microsoft SQL Server. It can't all be done on the same server anymore. You're going to have separate servers. There was another tidbit that I wanted to say. The min roles are quite nice because it gives us this ability to just create servers as we need them for specific parts. But at a very minimum, if you're looking at setting up this, you're going to need 4 servers to run, and that's without redundancy. So the actual hardware requirements in the background are going to be quite high running through that way. And I think probably in the beginning, a lot of people are going to be using the custom role to set up the servers as we used to do in 2013. But I think for very, very specific or large corporation installs, we can actually do some very, very nice installations that are controlled very well. Another nice thing that actually comes with this is, let me bring up my central admin. Okay, over here for you guys. Now, central admin hasn't changed much at all. I was hoping one of the features that would come into central admin would be a breadcrumb, but we haven't actually had that, which is a bit of a shame. But compliance features that come actually with the servers now, because of these different roles, they actually can be set up as compliant. And SharePoint admin, central admin will tell you if these servers are compliant. So we set this one up as a standalone. It tells you it's in compliance, and you can actually drill into each server, and all the services that run on there will tell you if it's in compliance with that server role. So if you have a web front-end server, all the services on there will say, is this in compliance? Yes. And if it isn't, it'll actually give you the ability to try and repair it through central admin. So a lot more work's been given to you there to actually run a server a lot more tightly. All right, let's jump back to our presentation. So that's the new min roles and the compliance. We've also got fast site creation. Now, fast site creation is it's pretty much a template that's now created that you create in the back end on the SQL Server. It's very much used for bulk site creation. But the idea is now that you can actually create a whole site collection in a second, whereas it used to take about 40 seconds to create it. So it's quite a nice little bit of work on the infrastructure over there. But essentially, you're able to use a template that gets stored in the SQL Server, and then when you request a new site collection, it'll build it all in the back end using that template, and it'll be instantly available through the front. We've also got faster updates and upgrades. Now, they've been touting zero downtime upgrades. Microsoft have been very keen about this over here. Essentially, what they've done is they've reduced the update files down to about 2 or 3 files. And also they come through a lot fewer. There's not as frequently as they did before. They've also removed the requirement for the service to go down for these updates to be placed in. So the updates are going to be a lot easier to apply, which is quite nice. The 5,000 view threshold, I don't know if many people have come across this. I certainly have. In Office 365 especially, and SharePoint Online, that has been quite a bit of a bugbear. Now, they haven't really quite removed this. I mean, a document library can hold up to 30 million documents. That's never been the issue. The issue is that the server request will only ever pull back 5,000 items at a time for a view. And this is obviously to protect the SQL environment, so we don't have SQL locks and the actual request time isn't a durable time. Now, from the sounds of it, they're going to up it to about 10,000. But what they're also doing is they're turning on the index columns, the creation of index columns automatically, which bypasses the whole need for the 5,000 view threshold. So that's quite nifty. That'll help us out a lot more in time to come. Now, a big question that has been coming up for the last 2 years is, are we ready for cloud only? I think a lot of companies...
Lascelles Simon
is now joining.
Hi, Simon. So a lot of people have realized that the companies won't commit to going directly just to the cloud. Microsoft have seen this, and they've done a lot of work to hybridize to make hybridizing SharePoint online and on-prem a lot easier. With IT Preview, we've got hybrid sites. Now, the hybrid site features allow users to have an integrated experience while using SharePoint Server and SharePoint Online. They'll pretty much have one profile, which will be their online profile, and all the information from SharePoint that they follow on SharePoint on-prem will be available in their site feed for them to look at. So any sites that they follow, that'll automatically go up into their cloud profile. Other things like also the hybrid OneDrive for Business, we can now actually shift everybody from SharePoint Server, their OneDrive on there, into the cloud. So they can automatically, whenever they click on that, they'll take them to their cloud OneDrive for Business, and they can actually get to the stuff from there, which is very, very nice. There's also a migration tool, I think it's available, but I think it's been made a lot easier to migrate OneDrive into the cloud. Then there's the cloud hybrid search. Now this feature is actually released for 2013 and not just for 2016. So it's already available for us to use and play with. And this allows us to index and all of our crawl content from on-premise and actually surface it in online. And it's very, very nice. And that means that we can actually look at the large file problem that we would have had previously and say, all right, these files can stay on our servers. They don't have to be in SharePoint. As long as there's crawled content on our SharePoint server, we can actually push that into the cloud and make it accessible from there. Oh, what else have we got? Project Server 2016 preview. 2016 Project Server 2016 preview has been made available as part of the SharePoint Server 2016 preview. And it will now come packaged and bundled as part of SharePoint going forward. Been a lot of improvements there. I think Project Online, all the performance and scale improvements made in Project Online is now available in Project Server 2016. So there's infrastructure improvements, the removal of the project database, for instance, so all data is now migrated into a content database. An important note is that the Project Server 2016 preview is currently free with the 2016 preview. There's no licensing restriction, but there will be in the future with general release. Sites pinning, this allows us now to pin sites in one area. So anything that you follow, so when you click on following a site, in your profile area now, you can actually pin specific sites that you want to see in there. And along with that also comes with the site folders view. And that takes you directly to any document libraries of sites that you're following. So if you follow a document library across several different sites, these will now be made available to you in one area in your profile. So it's bringing all that more information and tightening it up into your actual profile area, which is quite nifty, very nice. Durable links is an interesting one. Durable links is essentially the ability to share a link. If I go to bring this back up over here again. If we go into this section over here and we say, all right, we want to share this link with someone, we share it via email, we share it through the share button, but the idea is that the link will go to somebody. If the document is changed at any given time, so the actual document file name is changed, what the durable link does is that it allows the person with the original link, so with the old file name, still to still able to access that document. And that works through Office Online Server. So that's a requirement that needs to be in there, which is Office Online Server is what Office Web App Server used to be called. So another nice name change over there. Seems to be quite a few of those coming through. But yeah, so the durable links, that's a very nifty little thing. It means that anytime you send a link to somebody and any changes are made to that file, they'll still be able to access that link on there. Some other information, SMTP encryption. There's some improvements around SMTP with the use of Start TLS connections for encrypting emails sent from SharePoint. We can also now run the SMTP servers through non-standard ports, so we don't just have to use port 25 anymore. And there's been a lot of cleanup work in the background too. Some information has been left out, so things we don't know about, but what's been deprecated and changed. SharePoint Designer, there will not be a SharePoint Designer 2016. SharePoint Designer 2013 will work going forward with 2016. So we'll still be able to use SharePoint Designer 2013 to create our workflows and do any of the special design work in the back. I think this is because, or it's definitely a sign showing that there's some very cool, nifty tools that are coming out for SharePoint that's going to allow us to do a lot of this work. Already we can use Visio 2016 and 2013 to create workflows and deploy those workflows directly to SharePoint Server. It'd be interesting to see what else is going to come out. I assume forms work, all of that's going to be built into Office to allow us to do a lot of the front-end design work that we would usually use SharePoint Designer for. But until Microsoft give us a bit more information about that, fortunately, all we can do is just speculate or check up some of the Microsoft MVPs who are actually allowed to go and see the information. SharePoint Foundation, that will no longer be available. So the free version of SharePoint going forward will no longer be available. Anybody on SharePoint Foundation who want to upgrade to 2016 will have to purchase the standard or enterprise versions going forward. Along with that, SQL Server Express and standalone install will no longer be an option. As I mentioned earlier, we will have to have a separate SQL Server and a SharePoint server. We can no longer do everything on one server using SQL Server Express. SCSADM has been deprecated. PowerShell has been developed forward. That's going to be the way to do any sort of the back-end connection works if we're not using central admin. And tags and notes have been deprecated. Now, if anybody doesn't know what the tags and notes is, in our libraries, or in our links and lists, where is it? This over here, tags and notes. This will fall away going forward. I don't know how many people still use this. This is a much better older feature for the previous SharePoints. I know any of the new installs that we've done for our clients have not actually seen the use of that. So not a big surprise and a bit of a one that just comes out in the background there. So what does the future hold? On-premise is to stay at World Partner Conference earlier in July in Orlando and also at Ignite. Microsoft have been very, very adamant and vocal that SharePoint on-premise is being worked on, it is being developed, it is being pushed forward. They've also stated that 2016 will not be the last on-premise version. So we're looking, hopefully, in the future, we'll have another version coming out for 2019. But the idea is to bring in closer ties to SharePoint Online. A lot of the development work will be done in the cloud and then ported down to SharePoint on-prem until I think everybody's happy or the ability to work from the cloud becomes a bit more standard and a bit more accepted. One other thing that has come out of Microsoft is that team sites are being modernized. I haven't been able to see any of this information yet. That'd be one of the things I'm waiting for. But they say that they've taken in all the influx of information from users and from partners, and they are going to work at modernizing the actual team sites itself. And along with that, hopefully some new tools will be coming through there. Let's see. Next up, just a couple of quick FAQs. When will SharePoint 2016 be made available for general release? We're looking at Q1 of 2016. So that's quite nice. Hopefully beginning next year, we'll be able to see a bit more information. SharePoint upgrades. Now, it works through the database attach method for 2013. So 2013, we just have to detach the database and we can attach it into 2016 environment. 2010 will need to go through the upgrade to 2013 before it can go to 2016. There won't be a direct upgrade path for SharePoint 2010. So there is that double hop we would have to perform upgrading over there. Hardware and software requirements. Hardware is exactly the same for 2013. There was quite a shock, I think, when 2013 initially came out for the hardware requirements. It was very back-end heavy, but we were happy to know that on the hardware side, it's exactly the same. And they've been working on the infrastructure just to help improve that so that it works a lot better on what we already have. Software requires at least Server 2012 R2 and .NET 4.5.2. It can also run on Server 10, but we would need to run .NET 4.5.6 instead of 0.2. And that pretty much covers everything I've unearthed from 2016 preview. A note is that 2016 beta has actually just been released. Couple of the extensions came from there, like the extensible app launcher. That's one of the parts that came out of there. But yeah, it's available for people to download and play with, and we can set it up for you guys to actually have a work and play with. So you're more than welcome to get us in contact with us if you want to speak to us about that. But before I jump onto the company side of things, I'm going to actually just bring up a Q&A session and see if we can answer any questions you guys might have. Bear with me just for a quick moment, and we'll see if we can start that for you. Let's see.
Lascelles Simon
Is now exiting.
All right, for Q&A, I think if you guys can use the text, the chat box, and just add in your questions over there, and we can go through those over there. Terry's been the first one to ask, is there an option for on-prem only? Yeah, this 2016 IT preview, this is pretty much on-prem only. But like I said, they have done a lot of work to hybridize with SharePoint Online, but it is available as 2013 was as an on-premise installation only. How long is a preview valid for once installed? Good question. I'm not too sure on that. The one thing I do know is that when general release does come out, you can't upgrade the IT preview to general release. You actually have to get the actual general release straight from there. So from what I can understand, IT preview will be around as long as it's available and installed. You can run it. You shouldn't have any issues with it going offline or not being able to use it. All right,
well, Dan, that's a big question.
All right, a few questions from Dan. Let's see. Do we have a breakdown of standard enterprise differences, or this will only arrive? Yeah, I haven't seen any of the differences there yet. I'm not too sure how the licensing SKUs will work, or if they'll tie into the way Office 365 SKUs work, or if we're just going to have the standard set enterprise, etc. But we'll have to see with that. What I can do is I can speak to Kelly and see if we can find out a bit more information about that if it is available. Browser support, yeah, Chrome. While I hesitate to say fully supported, the improvements are definitely there, like being able to use the drag and drop functionality. That was quite nifty. We still can't use, from what I can see, the Open in Explorer view because that's very much a IE one. IE is not dead in the water. We have seen a couple of issues with preview using Edge. So I think we'd still stick to IE in there. I do know that Microsoft are changing their support for IE7 going back. So it looks like I think IE9 is going to be your next supported version over there. But I think that's more of a tech question about support that we can have a look at and getting that information out to you. Bidirectional iCal support for SharePoint calendars. Haven't seen anything about that. Unfortunately, wouldn't be able to answer anything about that one there. Not too sure. I think they're doing a lot of work to tie in with Office 365 and the Exchange calendars, but iCal I'm not too sure on, unfortunately. Native pasting of images from the clipboard. No. We haven't been able to do that where we can go Control-C and Control-V into a document library. But the drag and drop functionality is a bit better there now. One thing I did notice actually is there is now a lot better support for video and image previews. So hopefully that will help out with that one. But we can't unfortunately just paste directly in. All right, looks like we've got a couple more questions coming in. What media files are supported for previews? Are you talking about video? Video at the moment is very much still exactly the same as 2013. Quickly, I can get a list up actually for you. Bear with me just for a moment. And strange enough, this was something I checked with another client not too long ago.
Mark
is now exiting.
Daniel Taylor
is now exiting.
There's still it's quite a big list. I know there are a couple of media files that are not available. What I can do,
Terry Naudet.
If I get your email address at the end of this, what I can do is I can fire across a list of supported media files and which ones are not supported. Hopefully that would help out. I think generally anything that is recorded on Windows mobiles and iPads should be recorded. It's some of the more stranger ones that people use that have got like better encoding, etc., that we have found out. But I'll get that list of files across to you. I think, without a doubt, anything that's recorded on a Windows mobile at the very least would be supported. I think Microsoft will obviously be shooting
Terry Naudet
if that didn't work.
Is now joining.
Okay, there's another question coming in.
All right, any further details? So Dan's asked, do you have any further details on the upgrade path from 2010? Can the hop to 2013 then on to 2016 be formed as one action, at least in terms of downtime on the business? Are we perhaps better served by third-party migration tools? There are a couple of great third-party migration tools out there. We have a couple of partners that we do work with for that, and they do serve that specific purpose of moving content from one area to the other without having to do the actual upgrades. This is really two different questions, or at least two different answers on the side of the upgrade is when people want to upgrade the full infrastructure from one to the other, bringing their content databases across. So we can't do the hop from 2010 to 2016 in one fluid movement, unfortunately, because the database will have to be detached in 2010, added in 2013, and then upgraded. Excuse me. And then from there, we can actually take that database in 2013 directly into 2016, where it doesn't need the upgrade, it just needs to be attached. If it's a case of moving content across from several different areas to one, then I think a third-party migration tool would be the consideration. So the idea of just taking information that you want to move and moving it directly across. I know some of the tools that we've used, actually, they move the metadata associated with the files too, which is quite nifty. So you don't lose anything like who was the last person to modify, the last modified date. All that information can be pulled across by the migration tools. Paul's asked what versions of SQL are supported. SQL 2012 R2 is the minimum that we require. That is for 2016.